Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For this video to make sense, it requires your attention and of course a Bible. If you don't have a Bible, you can get free access to one online at bible.com, biblegateway.com, or any of those websites. This is inspired by the last two verses of the opening chapter of the Quran. Quran 1 verse 6 and 7. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Guide us the straight way, the way of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy blessings, not of those who have been condemned, nor of those who go astray. Now, when I looked at the explanation of this, it is clear that there are people who have been led astray, either by a conscious misunderstanding of the message of God, or maybe they have been led astray by investing their trust in people who have given them a wrong representation, so to speak, of the message of God. So now the question is it possible to analyze some of these messages to see what could give us an insight to these dubious writings, to these messages that have been altered either consciously or unconsciously? So let us embark on this quote and unquote detective work into the Bible. Now, the earliest of the four Gospels is the Gospel according to Mark. This was written around the year 70 AD. And this is years after the death of Paul of Tarsus. Paul was suspected to have died between 62 AD and 67 AD. So obviously 70 AD is later. So basically, Paul's letters existed before the Gospels. So what I'm trying to point out is that the four Gospels were written to cater to a doctrine that was already existent. Okay, I often hear Christians talking about hundreds and hundreds of prophecies and about Jesus in the Old Testament. So let us go to that first written gospel of the four Gospels, and let us look at those prophecies and see what we can learn from those prophecies. Now, Mark actually starts his book with prophecies. We go to Mark chapter 1 verse 2. You can pause the video and look for it. But it says, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet, behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Now, I'm not sure that there were cross-references, as we have in the Bible today, in the original manuscripts. I'm not sure there were cross-references. And if there were cross-references, it must be that the readers, or the people to whom these Gospels were catered to, or the people to whom the Gospels were catered, were illiterate. All you need to do is look at the cross-reference and go back to the Old Testament and see what the Old Testament is really saying. What the writer of Mark did in verse 2 and 3 was that he slammed two writings together. He took one verse from Malachi chapter 3 verse 1, and slammed it into Isaiah chapter 40 verse 3, and made it say something that both texts did not intend. let's start with that Malachi chapter 3 verse 1. What it says here is, "Behold, I send my messenger, and he will prepare the way before me. And the Lord," now this is capital L, small O-R-D, which also means master or someone with a higher status. So, "And the Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple, and the messenger of the covenant in which you delight, behold, he is coming, says the Lord of hosts. But who can stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he will purify the sons of Levi, and refine them like gold and silver, and they will bring offerings in righteousness to the Lord." Now the writer of Mark is trying to give us the impression that this messenger, actually the passage I just read is titled "The Messenger of the Lord." Now the writer of Mark is trying to give us the impression that this messenger is supposed to be John the Baptist. And from the passage we see that this person is going to be someone of high status, who will live in the temple and accept offerings from the people of Jerusalem. What do we know of John the Baptist? Did he live in the temple? No. He lived in the wilderness. Did he accept offerings? No. All he did was baptize people. He even baptized Jesus, as the story goes. So we see that what the writer of Mark is trying to say that Malachi 3:1 said is not what it really said. All it takes is a little reading. Now let's go to Isaiah chapter 40 verse 3. Did he use this one correctly, or did he misinterpret this one to tell his story? Now the heading of this passage I'm about to read, which is Isaiah 40 verse 1 to 5. Actually he quoted verse 3 alone, but I'm going to read verse 1 to 5, and then you yourself can figure out what this verse is really talking about. The heading is "Comfort for God's People." It goes like this: "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem, and cry to her, that the warfare is ended, that her iniquity is pardoned, and she has received from the Lord's hand double for her sins." Now verse 3, this is where the writer of Mark quoted from. "In the wilderness prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken." What is this saying? This is pretty much saying that the labor of the children of Israel will not be in vain, that all they have done wrong will be forgiven, that God will comfort them all together. It is metaphorical that the mountains and the hills will be made flat. It is metaphorical that the valleys will be raised up, and that all the grounds will be level. Is metaphorical. What it's pretty much trying to say is that all of the children of Israel will feel this comfort at the same time. That's all that it means. It is not saying anything concerning God becoming a man. It is not saying anything concerning God coming down to earth literally. But this is what the gospel writer of Mark is trying to portray. Like I said, all it takes is a little reading. This will continue in another video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.